We salute our friends downstairs at NBC5, and Bennett Haeberle joins us now from NBC Investigates. There's a special series, night 2 tonight, and of course you can see the whole thing. And what is the website, Bennett? NBC5 Chicago?
Oh, it's NBCChicago.com.
NBCChicago.com. It's all up, right, on demand?
It is, yes.
This is a tough one to watch. This is an alarming absence of sexual assault arrests and convictions in Chicago. These statistics are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough subject, but it's one we thought deserved attention. I mean, we looked at 6 years worth of reported sexual assaults to Chicago police. We found there were over 21,000. And when you put it in a boil pot, it led to fewer than 1,600 arrests. And all told, when you're looking at all those reported crimes, it led to just 1.5% resulting in sex crime convictions with prison time. So you're talking almost like a giant inverted pyramid or a funnel where this stuff sort of trickles down.
The spokes of this story are many. Your co-reporter on it, Jorge de Santiago, reports on Telemundo as well, dismissed Buscando Justicia. And this seems to be part and parcel to a number of things. Dismissed cases, court problems. And am I wrong in stating a tremendous lack of staffing on the police department to handle it all?
Well, I know that's historically that's been a discussion point, right? I mean, I know there's been discussions from Chicago police talking about there have been down thousands of officers. I think it goes even beyond that. I think, number one, I think there's a real hesitancy on the part of a lot of these victims to come forward initially. Mm-hmm. And even when they do, there is so few arrests that I think there's a big challenge there in sort of proving that it's one thing for an atrocity to occur between two people. It is another thing to be able to prove that happened in a court of law. And so that's kind of the contention of the prosecutor's office, that they've said that, it's very challenging in a lot of these cases. But, when you hear from these people who have come forward, these women who've shown a tremendous amount of courage to share their stories, it's you sort of feel for them because they are sort of trapped in this system.
Yeah, it's so sad, Bennett. They're truly undermining the accounts of these survivors. Your team read the narrative of all of these court cases. Was there any pointing reason why they would block out sexual assault? They would black it out and then put in, some other word for whatever was a great substitute for that. Was there any reason why you saw this happening as this trend? Was it just easier to just do it that way?
I think according to the state's attorney's office, I think it was a matter of weighing what is accountability. So is it worth taking this to a jury, putting it in front of them, then having a judge and jury say what you alleged happened to you didn't happen, or is it better in the view of the state's attorney's office to say we know something happened here? How can we hold this person criminally culpable? And if it ends up just being sort of watered down to only a battery charge, is that enough? And, that's really subjective. Justice may be viewed in one way to one person different than another. So, that's kind of the tough thing here. But that was really the pattern that we saw that sort of jumped off the page to us, of the fact that a lot of these ended up initially being alleged as sex crimes. But then when it came out the other end of sort of the justice system, it was something else.
Pardon the cynicism. Is this a problem with the state's attorney's office wanting to clear cases, whether they are cleared in favor of the victim or not?
I don't know. I think what we sort of took this question beyond just the space of Chicago. We asked NBC stations across the country to look at this as well. And so that's something that we're going to explore later this week. We know that it's not just a problem here in Chicago. But I think that is a question that is worth asking. It's one we posed to the state's attorney's office. We said, what do you say to the victims out there who look at this and say that that's not just?
Yeah, and this mayor has said that one of his main points would be to hire more detectives. You don't hire detectives. Detectives are promoted from within when those positions are earned. We know we're more than 2,000 cops down on the street. The mayor's office needs to respond to your work. It's tremendous investigative work, and just say, how am I protecting the victims in this city?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one that we can definitely prompt his way. Yeah.
You might have to chase him. Ask Marianne. She's pretty fast.
Marianne could get your gym shoes on. Bennett, the victims that you talk to in the series, I mean, they're brave for sharing their story publicly because first they're sharing it with the detectives and now everybody knows. So you talk to some really brave women, victims in these stories. How did you get them to say, yeah, I'll do this? And what do they get from it?
Well, I think, that was honestly the hardest task of all of this, was because we felt like it is going to be hard to reach out to these women and not, unfortunately, re-traumatize them potentially. Mm-hmm. And so we walked that walk sort of just being open and honest with them, saying, look, we know this is challenging. If you want to participate in this project, that's great. If you don't, we totally understand. And we did have a few of those people who didn't, who would happy to have a phone conversation with us, but didn't want to go on the record and say, just sort of relive all of that. And we totally get that. So we try to be very sensitive with this and have multiple conversations with everyone who was involved with this along the way.
So what do we say to women who we always encourage report the crime, and their concern is, I'm not going to be believed, my life's going to be turned upside down, too many women blame themselves, I never should have put myself in that position, and so on and so on. What do we say to women to not make these numbers worse by not coming forward when a crime's been committed against them?
Right. I mean, you're right. I mean, the numbers are bleak, but I think that's, in talking with some of the advocates and experts who know more about this subject matter than I do, they've all said, if you sit in silence, nothing's going to change. So coming forward, having this tough discussion like the one we're having here, like the one we're broadcasting, it can't do anything but at least move the needle in one direction. So it is a tremendous ask for these people. And it's not lost on me that a lot of people have endured things that are very hard to talk about. And so I know it's an incredible ask to deal with that. But from what the advocates have said and the experts have said, that, change won't happen when we sit in silence.
No, 100%. And it's this type of reporting that we don't get enough of anymore. So I salute you, Jorge, and everybody at NBC5 for getting it done, and NBC5 for funding it and making sure you're out there chasing these stories down. Have you run up against any walls or people talking to you saying there's nothing here?
Oh, you mean just from the victim side of things?
Well, not just victims, but people just wanting you to not do the story.
On the court side, maybe.
No. I mean, I think we didn't really run into a whole lot of walls. I mean, I think that the big challenge was just getting through the numbers themselves because it was such a heavy lift. I mean, the state's attorney's office has their own numbers, which they tabulated they slightly differ, but I think on the whole, the difference that you see is that they do acknowledge that they have amended down more cases than ones that stuck. So, I mean, that is that we felt comfortable saying that, there were a lot of cases that got sort of watered down.
And I think just reiterate the number of the 21,000 reports, only 322 resulted in prison time.
Yeah, sex crime charges with prison time. So of all those people who came forward to police over a 6-year period, it put it in a boil pot and it sort of just boils down to that. It's just 300 cases where the sex crime stuck and the person ended up going to prison.
It's not okay. Not okay. Yeah. NBC5 and Telemundo, tell people how to see it.
It'll be on tonight at 10 o'clock. You can catch it online also at NBCChicago.com.
Bennett Haeberle, nice job. You're welcome here anytime.
Great job, Bennett.
All right. Thank you so much.